Good morning. You're watching Inside Texoma. I'm Kaylee Pfeifferling. On this episode, we're talking all about the Cattle Trails Wheat and Stocker Conference. It is coming up this Tuesday. Bill Holcomb, an AgriLife Extension agent in Clay County, joins me this morning. Bill, thanks for being here.
It was my pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about this year's conference.
Well, this year's conference, we typically have one in July and then one again in December, and we kind of rotate the subject matter we talk about. The one we're having coming up in a couple of days here in July is focusing largely on the VFD, or Veterinary Feed Directive, which is coming into application and going to be enforced starting in January. And what this is stocker operators, cattle feeders, livestock operators and such, a lot of times whenever they get an animal that comes down, is getting sick, or they're worried about it's going to, from travel or stress or whatever, it might be at risk of getting sick. Lots of times they feed a medicated feed to it, which some medicated feeds contain antibiotics and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, USDA has come down and said that any medically important antibiotics require a feed directive from a veterinarian to feed it. And what they're saying when they're meaning veterinary or medically important is they're meaning medically important to humans, not to the actual livestock, because they're worried about resistance and immunity to all that stuff. And so we're doing this to kind of adjust to that and to address it. The problem is, or the issue we're having, is there's a lot of people, both as veterinarians and producers, whether cow-calf operators, stockers, feedlots, or whatever, that just don't have all the understanding and the details about what this is going to mean for them particularly. Okay. Some people think, oh, any type of medicine I'm going to need to get a feed directive. Some people say, well, it's not, I'm not into that stuff, it's not going to affect me because it's only for stockers. No, it's for everybody who's going to be feeding that type of feed that falls under this VFD, or Veterinary Feed Directive. And the program, I mean, in truth, the program's been around since the mid-90s. But here recently, about 2 years ago, they've changed it up and they're broadening the feeds and the medicines that fall under it. So that's what the big change is.
Okay, so this is kind of to talk about that feeds, like pros and cons and what it's going to mean for the producers, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and just as well as, I mean, yes, the pros and cons of that stuff, as well as what steps a producer's actually going to have to go through. I mean, if you're going to feed, or not feed, but if you're going to give a typical, something a lot of people do is they worm their cattle with a shot or whatever.
Okay.
That doesn't fall under this. But if you're feeding them something that has some type of antibiotic, like just off the top of my head, that contains, say, neomycin or something like that, it might fall under, because that's a medically important antibiotic for human use. And so they're wanting to kind of restrict that and keep it from, some of the people have gotten out, some small number of producers have gotten into some issues with just mass feeding it or that type of thing, and so they're wanting to pull that back and limit it more to when the usage is needed. And we've got several specialists coming in from A&M and other entities that are going to come in and talk to the producers, the stockers, the cow-calf operators, feedlot people, anybody involved in the cow industry that comes. They're going to talk to them about what does fall under it, what doesn't, what they need to worry about, what they need to talk to their vet about. Right. We're going to have some vets who are coming just because on their end of the thing, they haven't gotten all the information about what it's going to mean to them for dealing with it. I know we've got a couple of feed store operators that are coming in to attend the conference because they want to be sure they're on top of what it's going to mean for them as far as selling those types of feeds. That's a big part of what this conference we're having a couple of days comes up with. We typically rotate the topics around and cover different things, but obviously with this kicking off in January and it being a real big impact on the livestock industry and all that, we've really put a focus on it with this one.
Yeah, and how many people are you expecting to be at this conference as far as attendees go?
Well, we usually average around, I think usually between 65 and 90 producers come.
Okay.
I mean, that fluctuates on what you're talking about. It obviously fluctuates on what the cattle market's doing and the economy, how many people are in it, that type of stuff. But it usually fluctuates between those numbers. Okay. And then we also have our vendors and our people who are coming to share their product and speak to the producers about the stuff that they're selling.
And how important is this conference each year? I know you said you do it 2 times a year, different topics each time. How important is this for producers, ag people in this area?
Well, I mean, this area, if you look at it, I mean, historically it's got a big heritage with the cattle industry. Chisholm Trail came right through this area. There's a historical marker in Clay County on the county courthouse grounds talking about the Chisholm Trail coming through there. And there's a phenomenal amount of cattle that are raised in this area right here in this corridor, both in Texas and across the Red River in Oklahoma. And there's a joint partnership between us and Oklahoma State doing this. And it's a big, I mean, it's a big industry here. I think somewhere in the neighborhood of, in Clay County alone, I think it was something like $50 million in economic impact from agriculture.
Yeah.
And most of that is cattle. And I mean, it's we like to joke in some of the more rural counties, there's more cattle than there are people in this area.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
But I mean, it's a phenomenal impact on this area, and it's not just the cow-calf producers or the stockers or whatever, but it impacts the wheat farmers who lease out their land. It impacts the businesses and stuff in this area. You've got the feed stores, the veterinary businesses. There's a whole range of economic impact that comes from the cattle business. And it's historically been a very big industry in this area, and it just touches a lot of different areas and avenues of this part of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have more on the conference coming up. We're also going to have a sponsor join us after the break. Bill's going to stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. We're still talking about the Cattle Trails Wheat and Stalker Conference going on this Tuesday. Bill Holcomb, still with us this morning. He decided to stick around. We also have Will Myers with Capital Farm Credit joining us. And Capital Farm Credit is a sponsor of this year's event. Will, tell us why you guys decided to get involved with this conference.
We feel like our primary mission is to provide financing for rural America, but we feel like as secondary we need to also provide sources of information to our borrowers and to all members of the rural community. And this provides a lot of information in a compact form. They can come in for one day and get a lot of information for their operation.
Sure, and you guys are going to have a booth set up there?
Yes, we've had a booth the last several years, and we do meet with several of the event
the guests that come?
Guests that come, yes.
Bill, how important are sponsors like Capital Farm Credit to the continuing operation of this conference?
Oh, they're entirely important. We call on our sponsors every basically 6 months as we have one of these practically, and they're the ones that help us with the facilities, help keep the cost down for the producers. I mean, we're charging $25 fee for people to attend this as a producer. And that's a lot less than it would be without our sponsors who are helping to cover the cost of food, the facilities, the supplies, the educational materials. All of that is helped underwrite by people like Capital Farm Credit that come in and sponsor us every year, which makes it a lot easier for us to concentrate and focus on the education part of it and not have to worry so much about how we're going to make this where it's affordable for our clientele.
Yeah, and Capital Farm Credit is not only important to the continuation of this conference, but also very important to people in this area. Well, you guys have been around now for 100 years?
Farm Credit's, we're celebrating our 100th anniversary. The July 17th was the 100th anniversary of the Farm Credit system, providing financing for the farmers all across America.
And we kind of talked, Bill and I kind of talked a little bit earlier about the cattle industry here in North Texas and Southern Oklahoma and how important it is. Do you think that's part of the reason why you guys have continued so long?
Yes, a major part of our organization in this area, a major part of our financing is cattle and wheat and the real estate under it. So without the farmers, they don't need us. So we are very much want to be involved in these things.
Yeah. How many other sponsors other than Capital Farm Credit do you guys usually have each year?
It varies just depending. Some of the sponsors, I mean, like we do it 2 in Wichita Falls, and we'll cross north of the Red River to do in Oklahoma City. Some of the sponsors vary with where we're having it. Some of them will sponsor in the July one, which focuses more on stocker cattle operators typically. Some will do more of the cow-calf stuff in December, but usually we've got around 10 to 15 sponsors in one form or another who pony up to help underwrite this, and I mean that's just a big help for us. A&M AgriLife Extension, who we work for, along with Oklahoma State, north of the Red River, their extension program, a lot of what we're built around is taking that university-level research, taking it out and giving it to our clientele and teaching it what they've found at College Station or some other research center. And that's a big part of our mission and obligation. And if we didn't have sponsors such as Capital Farm Credit and many of the others who write a check for us, it'd be a lot harder to deliver that information and that research to them.
Yeah, sponsors are always important for any event that people have. And you guys switch back and forth between Oklahoma and Texas as far as where this conference is located.
Yes, ma'am.
So this year, both of them are going to be located in Texas.
Well, actually, last December we had one in Wichita Falls, and we'll have this one in Wichita Falls. So the one coming in this upcoming December will be in Oklahoma. Okay.
And why is it that you guys decided to switch out? Is it just to reach a broader audience?
Partially. I mean, when you look at the statistics and the types of producers you have, it's a real, from northern Oklahoma down here to south of us towards Jacksboro and that area, I mean, it's a real equal type of clientele that you have, or producers. Similar environment, similar financial situations, similar cattle. So we're partnering with Oklahoma Extension Service and A&M AgriLife Extension Service here in Texas. And so it's just as how we rotate it. We do 2 in Wichita Falls, and then we go 2 north of the Red River, just to broaden who we can appeal to, and just give us a larger base of people to spread this information to.
Okay, and you guys will only be at the Texas?
Yes, the farm credit system is, we have areas that we service, and Capital Farm Credit only covers Texas. There would probably be another farm credit in Oklahoma that would sponsor the Oklahoma.
Okay, so if you're wanting more information from Capital Farm Credit, be sure to go to the one on Tuesday here in Texas, because Will's business is going to be there giving out information. I don't think we mentioned where it's at, the price, all that kind of stuff. Let's get that in real quick.
We'll be having it at the Impact down here in downtown Wichita Falls, and it's $25 per producer. And I mean, we've got some stuff you'll get with that, but you'll also get fed a very good meal at lunch. And you'll have the entire conference, which I think starts from 9 a.m. and goes to about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay. Do you have to sign up ahead of time?
We'd like it if you sign up ahead of time. You can contact your local county extension office and sign up. But if for whatever reason you're not able to, walk-ins are welcome. There's no increased late fee or whatever. Just walk on in and register that morning as you're coming in, and we'll be good to go.
All right. Thanks for joining me this morning, guys.
Pleasure.
More on the conference up after this. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. We're still sticking with our topic this morning on the Cattle Trails Wheat and Stocker Conference. Stan Beavers, Extension Ag economist, joins us now. Stan, you've been going to this conference for quite some time, and you're speaking at it again this year.
Yes, ma'am. We've been involved since the start of it. This is actually, we're into our 6th year of doing this now. We do anywhere from we do 2 a year. One in the fall. This one's the wheat and stocker one. So what we'll be covering is the wheat conditions out here and for the coming year, and then the prospects of buying stocker cattle, which this area is famous for running stocker cattle out on wheat pasture through the winter. So we'll be talking about that, kind of what the numbers look like, what's the financial situation look like. That's going to be my role as the ag economist. I always speak on what the markets are looking like, what they've done this past year, as well as kind of trying to do some forecasting. Is there money to be made in wheat this year and be harvested next spring, or possibly buying calves, putting them out on wheat pasture and running them through the winter, and then getting them sold come spring.
Okay, so since you've been doing this for the past couple years, how have the prices and numbers fluctuated?
Oh, wow. I'm sure a lot of the audience probably remembers and continues to hear about a year ago, 2 years ago, when we had record cattle prices. Everybody was talking about calves being sold for $1,400–1,500 a head, and that was really good money, and it lasted about a year. So high prices tend to cure high prices, and now all of a sudden we're selling those same calves right now for about $650 to $700. So we've lost about half the value in some of these calves. So, right now the cattle deal looks a little rough. Probably not as rough as what the wheat looks like right now.
Okay.
As an example, everybody knows what their expenses have done, whether it's a household income, whether it's fuel cost or whatever. Over the last 20 years, and I've been doing this 27 years, cost of production continues to go higher. So now it's let's just say it's taken $175–180 to put in an acre of wheat out here. As much as 7–8 years ago, we were selling again record prices, wheat for $7 to $8 a bushel, and this past year, matter of fact, in the last month, we still have wheat around here that's below $3 a bushel. So it's a tough financial situation right now, and again, everybody recognizes that. But the one thing about these conferences is we try to get people together and say, okay, now here's what we see as a situation. Now, how are we going to address this? What can we do different in the coming months to try to alleviate and pay our bills, much less, heaven forbid, we try to make a profit on this. Right now, a lot of us are just trying to make sure we keep our heads above water and get our bills paid. So,
sure.
It's a difficult situation right now, but that's what this conference is all about, is how can we provide information to the farmers and ranchers in North Texas and Southern Oklahoma to help them make money through the wintertime.
Do you usually tend to see the same faces at the conference each year?
Usually we do. Every conference that, extension through, whether it be in Oklahoma or Texas, that every conference that we do, over time gets a reputation. And certainly the cattle trails, cattle conferences, as we call them, have gotten a reputation, and it's got quite a following. So, anytime we provide one of these cattle trails conferences, it seems like we've got 80 to 120 people, and the good thing is a lot of them are familiar faces, because again, they recognize the value, they recognize the job that the county agents are doing in Southern Oklahoma and North Texas, and trying to provide them with good information. So we tend to have a pretty good crowd at them, sure enough.
Okay, that's always good to hear. I spoke with Bill Holcomb earlier in the show. He talked about one of the main topics they're going to be talking about this year is the veterinary feed directive. Is that something that you're seeing a lot of, hearing a lot of?
Yes, that's a topic. Again, we talk about the financial situation being difficult right now. But the other area that most farmers and ranchers have to deal with, as a lot of cities and municipalities have to deal with, is government regulations. And this is a government regulation that has become law. It's actually been law longer than what people think. But what this veterinarian feed directive is, it's going to dictate that every farmer and rancher has what's called a veterinarian-client relationship. And so anytime, I can't just go out here and buy medicated feed now for my stocker cattle, which is not uncommon. I mean, we bring these cattle in. They may be coming from far away at Florida, and the cattle need a little medication, kind of get them feeling better. But now we're not going to be able to buy that type of feed anymore unless the veterinarian prescribes it through a prescription, and we have a veterinarian customer relationship. So the cattle that are going to be purchased this fall, this law becomes effective January 1 of 2017. Well, these cattle that we're buying right now, we will probably own clear through into March and April and May of next year. So these cattle are going to be caught right in the middle of it. So if guys don't know about the VFD, they need to come to this conference and figure it out.
Yeah, something that's going to impact a lot of people.
It's a federal deal, so it's a law. They're going to have to pay attention to it.
Okay. More from Stan after the break. We'll be right back. Good Sunday morning and welcome back. Stan Beavers still joining us this morning. Stan, we kind of talked about wheat not looking so good this year.
Right.
Is there any positive outlook?
Well, first and foremost, good Lord's blessed us with rainfall. Those of us that lived in this area through 2011, and we recognize how bad it can be sometimes.
Right.
So, moisture's certainly been in our favor. Things are looking good there. From a market standpoint, as I mentioned, the cattle, are pretty rough right now. Wheat's as rough, if not a little rougher than what the cattle are. Probably the one bright spot is the cotton situation. Again, the moisture has certainly helped a lot of people get their cotton crop up, looking pretty good. It's been certainly hot enough, which cotton loves hot weather. It likes hot and wet weather. Now, there was a lot of people planted cotton thinking they didn't think the price was going to be that great, but all of a sudden we've kind of gotten a Christmas in July because cotton prices have gone up about 5-6 cents over the last couple of weeks, which was kind of unforeseen. So there was, it's looking a lot better than what it would have, 3 months ago when we were thinking about it. But what I would tell people, if you've got cotton in the ground, you might want to start looking at the markets pretty quickly on cotton, because this thing will come down as fast as it went up. So, it's providing you an opportunity right now to do some pricing if you chose to on cotton. So cotton looks good.
Okay, at least there's a bright spot.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, some people can look at it and say, man, this all looks rough, and in fact, we got to mind our P's and Q's, but we've been through tough times before. We'll get through it.
Why is wheat looking so dismal right now?
What people don't understand, first off, the U.S. only produces about 10% of the world's wheat crop. So everybody and their dog has, wheat on this planet. And then the other thing that most people don't recognize is the world has had 3 record wheat crops back to back to back.
Okay.
Now, over, right at half of the U.S. wheat crop has to be exported. I mean, we just can't consume that much wheat that all the wheat that we produce in this country. So it has to be exported. And well, if the world is producing a lot of wheat, then they don't need to buy ours. And all of a sudden, we got wheat that, again, as I mentioned earlier, we had wheat $7, 4 and 5 years ago, and now we're $3. So it's a tough situation, and just to kind of put it in perspective, what I try to teach the farmers and ranchers is what's it actually cost you to produce a wheat crop. And around here, guys will know that I usually preach about $5.50 is what it costs you to produce a wheat crop, to put it in the ground, get it growed, get it harvested, and get it in the bin. So if it's costing $5.50 and I'm selling it for $3, I can't do that for very long.
Yeah, you're not turning much of a profit.
That's exactly right. So as I mentioned, sometimes just paying the bills is the best option we got. So.
And this is one of the things that are going to be talked about at the conference,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And as a lot of people that come to the conference or regular people there recognize, that's my job as the ag economist to kind of tell them what I think the markets are going to do over the next 6-8 months. And please come, but I'm going to tell you, it doesn't look real happy right now. Things are pretty tough, but things always change.
Right.
So cattle's going to improve at some point. Wheat will get better at some point, but right now, if I ran the numbers, they don't look very good.
Okay, yeah, when I was speaking with Bill and Will earlier, when I said I was going to talk to you, they said, oh, he's going to have some doom and gloom news. So people come to this to hear you speak and to hear what you got to say.
No, absolutely, and I appreciate that about them. Again, it's kind of a reputation conference, but I do what I can to tell them, a realistic, here's what it looks like outside right now, and I think that's what people appreciate this conference and about what we do here in this Rolling Plains area.
If they're going to be coming to this conference, when can they expect to see you speak?
Actually, I believe I'm the second speaker. I can tell you I'm on, it looks like about right at 9:30, something like that, 9:45.
Okay.
But I'm the second speaker. So
Okay, perfect. Anything else you want to say about the conference, why people should go out?
No, it's a great conference. As I mentioned, it's a partnership between Texas A&M Extension and the Oklahoma State Cooperative Extension. So, the fact that we've got producers that own land on both sides of the river, just because we're in Texas doesn't mean the guys from Oklahoma can't come. I mean, again, we recognize that a lot of our producers have land on both sides, and again, it's got the reputation that it doesn't make any difference. It's a rolling plains of America type conference. So.
Sure. Don't forget to get your tickets for the Wheat and Stalker Conference this year. It's going on Tuesday. Stan, thanks for being here with us.
Glad and appreciate it.
We'll see you back here next week on another episode of Inside Texoma. Have a great Sunday.